8 years old. So she presented with, she had been diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and ADHD at the age of 6. She, her mum's looking for other answers. She's been on Ritalin since 6 years of age, but the Ritalin doesn't appear to have made that much of a difference. So when she came to see me, what I found most interesting about the little girl, first of all, she has some certainly developmental delay. So she is really struggling with schoolwork. She's been tested, quite thoroughly investigated by speech pathologists and all different sort of educational psychologists, and they believe that she's got enormous difficulty with comprehension, particularly verbal comprehension. She doesn't really understand necessarily what you're saying. And with this, and what her diet is like when the mum first comes to see me is she says, I can barely get her to eat, you know. So she's got very, very low appetite. What do you know about Ritalin? Suppresses appetite. Okay, it's a methamphetamine, so it suppresses appetite. So that's a common issue that comes up with children who are taking Ritalin. So she says, I can barely get her to eat. All I can get her to do, perhaps before school, is to have a Milo to take her Ritalin before she goes to school. I send her off to school with a lunchbox, but often that comes back completely intact. So I don't know what she's eating at school. She might eat a packet of potato chips at school, but you know, that's about it. Like, it is so low that her level of intake. And then she'll come home from school, she might have instant noodles, or, you know, like, she just is very particular about what she'll eat. She's very, very fussy. She has a very narrow palate, a very narrow sort of food diversity. So this links into something that we were talking about with one of your patients. Your patient, okay. That's why I was talking about it with that patient. So she's got very, very obviously aberrant sort of taste. I think she's got also poor food modelling in the house. I think that, you know, you don't end up with instant noodles at home unless, you know, someone else is eating that sort of food. She's got one older sister who's 15 and her mum's a single mum. So they're doing it pretty tough. And her mum feels like she has to fight with her about everything. And she's always been like that. And so the mum's pretty much exhausted. So when she talks to me about the child, she says that she's obsessed with carbs and she's obsessed with milk. Okay? She will pour herself milk all the time. And she's obsessed with anything that's a carbohydrate. So what do you think, what else do you want to know, but what do you think were some of the tests I might have sent away for? Oh, the other thing that I mentioned, I think I mentioned last time, is she has bowel and urinary incontinence. Okay? Yeah, everyone goes, ah. Now, what I mean by that is not necessarily that she's got anal seepage, okay, which is where you're just getting a leaking bowel all the time. But when she often thinks that it's a flatulence, she's actually doing a bowel motion in her pants. She often, the mother will find that when the girl's undressing later on in the day, there's a pebble of stool in the pants. She frequently comes home, more often than not, with wet underpants at 8. Okay? When you ask the little girl what's that's about, she's quite capable of going to the toilet, but she really, you know, she's quite capable of going to the toilet at home, but she really can't explain what that's about at school. And when her mum and her older sister have expressed concern about the fact, for example, that she smells on the bus, she's not affected by it. She says, I don't care, right? Because this is her particular personality. She's one of the toughest little kids that I've met at 8. You know, she's kind of, you know, I'll have you, you know. And so she... So yeah, she's got bowel and she hasn't got full control or full good control of her bowels and her bladder. So what are some of the things that you would pursue with this little girl? What are some of the questions that you want to know, or some of the tests that you would want to see the results of?
Well, what about neurological testing?
Yes, you could do neurological testing. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're probably going to get to neuro once we've ruled everything else out. Yeah?
How about worms and parasites?
Oh, beautiful. Okay, my first thing is worms and parasites. Okay, why?
they can affect. They can.
What would be the classic nutrients that you think could contribute to an ADHD, ODD sort of presentation? Zoe knows this little girl that we're talking about now. Yeah? Zinc, okay. Zinc is going to be huge on my radar. She's got aberrant taste, she's got impaired appetite, she's got hyperactivity, she's extremely hyperactive. She's got strawberry blonde hair, which is a funny little thing. If you go back to zinc deficiency in its most extreme form is a disease called, I'm running out of board space, called acrodermatitis. Have you heard of this one? Enteropathica. It's a good one to know about because, not because we're going to see it, but because it is the most extreme form of zinc deficiency. These are individuals who are born with a genetic inability to absorb zinc. And so it's picked up in the early neonatal period because as soon as they're weaned, they become grossly unwell. They can usually stay zinc replete while they're being breastfed, most of them, but as soon as they're weaned, they enter into this accelerated, overt zinc deficiency. And most of these kids have strawberry blonde hair. There's no one else in the family that has strawberry blonde hair, but they do. And it's because the loss of zinc is changing the pigmentation of the hair. Okay? Now, I'm not saying in this little girl's case that that's the only reason why she has strawberry blonde hair, but I thought it was funny. I was looking at her hair and I'm saying, oh, who else in the family has hair like this? She said, oh, no one. And I just thought, oh, that's interesting, you know. Anyway, okay, so yes, I'm going to look at zinc. I'm going to look at iron. Don't forget the obvious, you know. Has she got enough iron? Because that's going to impair concentration. It's going to change behaviour. It's going to cause fussy eating as well, you know, those sort of things. Anything else?
What about pyrroles?
Yes, pyrroles are a big one that you probably want to check. I would go through my checklist first of all, Kyle, about some of those key questions, you know, that we've been through in Clinic 4. I will go through them again next week, perhaps, talk about pyrroles. One of my hesitations with that is that's another pay out-of-pocket test. So that's another $90 for that mother. So we haven't done that test.
What about malabsorptive symptoms?
Yeah.
Conditions?
What sort of?
Thinking celiac?
Spot on.
Okay.